The number one killer of honeybees is you, the beekeeper. I'm not talking about deliberate actions you take to kill your bees. I'm talking about all the things that you should be doing that you're not and the things you shouldn't be doing that you are. But I promise you, if you can tackle these 5 things, you have a really good chance of being successful. So let's get to it. All right, everybody, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff. I run the Beekeeping for Newbies podcast. We are coming up on 500,000 downloads right around the corner, so special thanks to all of you for listening. I really appreciate you. Our podcast is 100% designed with the new beekeeper in mind. I started out years ago. I didn't take all the advice that I should have taken. I kind of went out on my own. I did everything based on reading books and what I could find online. And I kept having problems, and I kept throwing money at the problems. One of the biggest challenges I ran up against is there is a lot of really, really good information out there, and there's a lot of really bad, poor information. And it's really, really difficult to kind of discern what is what. A lot of people will tell you that there's only one way to do this or only one way to do that in beekeeping, and that's just absolutely not true. There might be ways that are better than others, but bees are really, really good at adapting. So just because one person does it one way doesn't mean you have to do it that way too. But it was all of this information, and I don't want to say misinformation, but it was all of this conflicting information that I kept finding out there that led me to create Beekeeping for Newbies. But one thing I want you to always remember is honeybees are really good at surviving. They've been doing this for a couple of years now, or maybe a couple of centuries. But as we go through this list, I want you to remember all but one of the things on this list are caused by the beekeeper. They are things that you, me, we have done wrong. So if you can stop doing these 5 things, you increase your survivability by 92%, according to a recent survey. Okay, so let's get to the list, and please stick around to the end because the last one is the most important one, and we've got a little bonus for you at the end. Okay, number 5 on the list, letting them swarm. So let's talk real quick about what happens when a colony swarms. For those of you who are completely new to beekeeping and you don't know what this even means, swarming is the process by which bees procreate or reproduce. They make another colony from a really big colony that has just had a big infusion of resources from the spring flow typically. Half of the colony and the existing queen will leave and try to go find a new home. The reason that this is so bad for the beekeeper is because you're losing almost half of your bees in one moment. At the blink of an eye, just like that, half your bees are gone. So what that does is it affects the colony's overall productivity. Now, will your bees be okay? Will they survive? Hopefully. But the big issue here is that your existing queen, the one that has gotten that hive through thick and thin, overwintered, and has now successfully got you to where you are today, that queen just left your hive. She's gone forever. They leave behind a queen cell, or typically multiple queen cells, and a new virgin queen will emerge, and then she has to go out and get mated. So from the moment that they fly away, let's just assume that a new queen emerges the next day. You still are going to have to wait about a full week to 10 days before she even gets mated and starts laying new eggs. Then you have 21 more days before the first new worker is born. Now, when the previous queen left, she probably left some young larvae and some capped brood, so you will still get bees emerging, but you're going to have a little bit of a break between when the old queen was laying and when the new queen starts laying. And to make matters worse, you can actually have the queen get eaten by a bird or a dragonfly or something else can get her during her mating flight and she never makes it back at all. That would be catastrophic for your colony. So aside from the fact that you just lost your great productive queen, you now have to roll the dice that you're going to get a new queen mated and returned back to the hive safely. And now you have to replace all of those foragers and all those bees that were working hard in the hive so that you can continue to ramp up all the resources you need to store up for the winter, or that the bees need to store up for the winter. So letting them swarm is number 5 on our list. Number 4, oversplitting. So what is splitting? Splitting is when you take an existing colony, typically this is done in the spring, when they have really, really ramped up and everything in the hive is exploding. There's new brood everywhere, tons of nurse bees, tons of foragers, just lots of frames of new nectar and potentially stored honey. So the colony is getting really, really big. And what you do is, in order to prevent them from swarming, what we just talked about, you can actually split the colony. There's a whole lot of different ways to split, and we're going to talk about that in other videos coming up here in the future. But what you essentially do, one way to split is to just divide the colony in half. Half go over here, half go over there, and you kind of start over, creating kind of an artificial swarm. Again, we'll cover it all in detail in another video, but a lot of times what people will do is they'll say, hey, I've got this really big colony. Let me go ahead and do a split now. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, they say, hey, man, they're really doing great. Everything's going really well. Let's split again. Or in that first split, instead of doing a 50-50, they'll divide everything up and make it 25, 25, 25, 25 to have 4 colonies total out of 1. Or maybe they'll do like a 3-to-1, something like that. Quite often what happens when people do this is they don't really realize that just after this big spring nectar flow is what we call, at least in my area, is called a dearth. That's when everything that was blossoming and in bloom and this great nectar flow that was on comes to an end, and it's pretty abrupt. You go from a day where the bees are bringing in pollen and nectar and all is great in the world, and you're a happy, excited beekeeper, and you're telling everybody how much you love your bees and how exciting beekeeping is. You go from that to, oh my God, why is there nothing else coming into my hive anymore? Why are the bees just hanging out looking like they're bored? It happens quick. And if you don't know what you're doing when you're doing these splits, you can really set up your entire colony and your apiary, for that matter, up for failure. So oversplitting, number 4 on the list. Next problem, number 3, is taking too much of their honey.
And the only reason for making honey is so I can eat it.
Let's face it, a lot of people get involved in beekeeping for the honey. Who doesn't love the taste of fresh, raw honey, especially when it's coming from your yard and your bees? I mean, what a great reward for all of your, and really more their, hard work. But what happens is some people take too much. Now, I always recommend to new beekeepers, if you're in your first year of beekeeping, don't take any honey. Get a journal, make a lot of notes. And part of your notes should say, at the end of the year, I saw 12 frames that were fully loaded with honey. And then in the spring, you're going to add to those notes, and you're going to say, hey, on my first inspection in the spring, I noticed they had 4 frames of honey left. So you know, based on the conditions of your winter and in your area, that they used 8 frames of honey to get them through the winter. So now you start off this next season, and during the spring, you end up with, say, 15 or 16 frames of honey. Well, you know, you can probably take 4 of those frames for yourself, right? So limiting how much you take is really important. Now, honestly, if you have a colony that just overwintered, so they're going into their second year, there's no reason you really shouldn't be able to get a full honey super off that colony in the spring. Now, again, if you don't know what a honey super is, we need to talk some more in another video. But let me know in the comments below if you want me to talk more about what honey supers are. So remember, before you take honey off of your colonies, make sure you know how much you can really take. It's easier to take a little bit of extra honey the following spring than it is to take too much in the spring, summer, fall of year 1 and have them run out in the wintertime when they need it the most, and then your hive dies and you lose out on everything. So number 3, don't take too much honey. Okay, number 1 on the list, and this is hands down the most important one. I'm talking about, if you say to me, Jeff, I want to be a beekeeper, this is the number 1 thing you have to make a plan for no matter what. You have to have a plan for how you're going to treat and manage the Varroa mite. The Varroa mite is the most destructive thing that's happened to honeybees pretty much throughout their lifetime. I mean, there's been other things that have popped up over the years that have caused challenges for the bees, but Varroa is really, really bad. Now, the good news is there are a whole lot of treatment options available to you. We talk about them in our Discord room regularly. We're going to be talking about them more and more here on the channel, but you got to make a plan to do something. There are so many people that have this idea, and I was guilty. I was one of them that go, yeah, I'm sure it happens to some people, but it's not going to happen to my bees because my bees are pretty cool and I take good care of them. I got burned. And you are just, if you want to throw away money, there's links in the YouTube channel here, like for Buy Me a Coffee. Just go in there and give the money to me. Don't throw it away. Don't waste it. If you honestly, if you say, look, I'm going to go and spend $200 on a nuke and I'm not going to treat them, cut that in half. You keep $100, give me $100 and we'll call it a day. But in all seriousness, I want you to have a plan for how you're going to treat for Varroa. Okay, so that was number 1, making sure you have a treatment plan for Varroa. Now, one thing I do want to ask of you, if you have found some value in this video, if you think that there's any information you got out of it that was good, please consider subscribing to the channel so that you can get some more information. And if you would just really, really gently tap that like button for us, I'd appreciate that as well. Now, let's get to the bonus. The bonus thing I want you to do to make sure that you don't kill your bees, don't pull a JT. Now, this is actually an inside joke for the folks in the Discord room, so it's not going to be that funny to you. But if you jump into the Discord room with us, there is a link down in the description. You can come in here and share in the joke with us. So, folks, that's all that I've got for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. If you think there's something else that should have been on the list, leave a comment down below. If you've had some of the struggles and challenges that I mentioned in the video, please let us know in the comments below so that we can share that information with everybody else. Outside of that, be safe, be kind to one another, and remember that I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.